We ask us the tough questions here because that's a great audience, and we want to get something out of it. Most people believe. They already have good systems in place. Because a bank of Credit Suisse, UBS, get an SMS, I log in. So why should people still consider? That's the first question. Why people should bankers here consider your solution? Because they still already have a good one, or they think they have a good one.
Well, think about, there was a time when we thought it was good to drive without safety belts and without airbags, and then we learned better. Mm-hmm. Right now, you have a world that's become accustomed to SMS OTP, but we're also learning better. We realize that SMS OTP has a lot of flaws. You don't even know if it's been delivered. It's very easy to intercept. It's a very clunky system. Many minutes can go by and you still wonder, did the right person actually get the message? You're waiting for
That's true.
It's a very frustrating experience, actually. And then you're waiting for a one-time PIN or password that you now have to look at, key in, really clunky experience. Think about what we've all been doing at the ATM for many years. A memorized PIN, a bank card, we get money dispensed. Secure, instantaneous, hands, security right in the person's hands. Now think about, we want to go to a digital world. So to us, the natural progression is to take that ATM-like authentication, what you physically have, what only you know, and apply it to digital. So in our case at Boloro, it's the physical mobile phone that you possess, the memorized PIN that you know, and we're not touching the internet or the operating system. And to me, that's the fundamental point we need to stress.
Is it difficult for those banks to, because they already have systems in place? And that's a problem for all fintechs or any technology, that sometimes there might be inferior technology in place, but people have committed time and effort. Why should they still change? I know it might be better, but you see the obstacles if you come later to the game, that they say, maybe it's not as good, but it's good enough. Is something like good enough?
Well, because our solution layers on top of what the bank already has, the bank does not have to change their app at all. So if the bank likes the user experience of their app and likes the look and feel of their online banking, they can keep it exactly the way it is today. Think of that as their house. And we're just adding a new lock that's very easy to add right on top of it, separate and secure, all by APIs, with the bank hosting, controlling, branding, absolutely everything.
And how long does it usually take?
It could be within days. It's very easy because the APIs are very easy to work with. We provide them to the bank. Mm-hmm. We work directly hand in hand with the bank's in-house technology team. The deployment is on the bank's existing hardware in their existing premises. They don't need to go out and buy anything new. And typically banks are already managing an ATM PIN, so this is just an add-on. They're now managing a PIN in association with a phone number, in addition to a PIN in association with a bank card.
Can you talk about customers? Because people like to go on a dance floor when there are already some people dancing.
Sure. And typically we're white labeling the solution, mm-hmm. and we're under confidentiality agreements with customers. So I wouldn't typically give out names of customers, but if you look at our website, we're already dealing with the government of India, some major banks in India. Those are already publicly disclosed. There have been articles in the Times of India and the Economic Times of India about that, so I don't feel...
that's kind of an achievement, because India is one of the strong fintech places with China, and
India was a very interesting story for us, because
tell us about that's interesting.
Sure. When I first went there a year or two ago, the mindset was that we're going to have our Aadhaar number, their national identification system, paired with biometrics. And they were very insistent on biometric solutions, face, finger image, voice. Then they had a much publicized data breach. And all of a sudden, people's personal biometric data was spilled out on the street. And for rupees, you could be somebody. And it became all too easy to commit fraud. Then you had to step back and think, okay, if people's personal biometric data has been compromised and really cannot be relied on again, how do I regain security? Come back to a new layer of security on top of it, that requires a physical mobile phone and a memorized PIN. So even if your personal data has been compromised, we can still protect you.
And the government of India, what will they use it for? Is it already clear?
There'll be any number of use cases. A lot of them are, range from public payments, from government to people, payments from people to government. So, for example, if you're offering government subsidies and you want to make sure it gets to the right person and that the right person is using it for the right thing. Also, for many payments that used to only be done by cash, such as utility payments. The beauty of this as well is that not only do you help them to replace cash, but you create a
which
keystroke,
they want anyway.
Which they want to do. You also create a keystroke by keystroke audit trail that is amazing for financial inclusion. So imagine somebody that's been paying a utility bill every month for decades but has no record of it. All of a sudden, you have an audit trail that can be used for a credit history, which can give somebody real financial inclusion.
Is what we have now the best of it? It's like, is the solution as sophisticated as it will be, or is there things in the pipeline that will make our customers here interested to know?
Sure, we're always improving. So what we have out in the market right now, we refer to as Boloro Authentication 2.0, because we're always making enhancements to it. But it's still the basic idea of what you physically possess, what only you know, and a separate channel avoiding the internet and the operating system. There are always things you learn when you introduce it in connection with new use cases. There are enhancements that you can make, but the basic fundamentals will be consistent.
It's set. I will ask you more questions. Is anyone who would like to jump in? I will continue, but I will pick someone afterwards. Oh, thanks. It pays to go on vacation together.
Yeah, I have a question for Karl. What's the biggest challenge you face with your company?
The biggest challenge is getting banks to move in the direction of change. Because you talk about it a lot in life, kind of the chicken and egg. In our case, the chicken or egg could be the banking industry moving, and the other could be getting the telecom industry to offer our solution. So typically, the telecom industry looks to see what the banks want to do, and the banks may be looking to see what's the telecom industry offering and at what price. So we became a GSMA certified solution, meaning we worked with the Global Association of Mobile Carriers. So the GSMA has vetted our APIs, and they've approved our solution. In all the markets that we're up and running in, we're working with all of the mobile network operators in that market. So now I have European operators that want to work with us. And I met with the European operators in London in September. So their message to me was, bring us the banks. So I say, great, I'm going to be at the European Digital Banking Summit in Berlin in November. I'll bring you some banks. So that's kind of my challenge back to all of you. You know the flaws with your existing authentication solutions. They've been well documented. All the problems of the internet, all the problems of malware on the handset, all the problems with SMS, OTP, SIM swaps. None of these things are secret. We all know them. But what's going to give us the boost to just go, you know what? That's just not good enough. I'm done with that. And move to something else. That's always the biggest challenge, is to get people to actually move. And when people ask me who my biggest competitor is, I tell them it's fraud. And that should be all of our biggest competitor. There's just no reason to allow fraud to continue on the internet and the operating system in this day and age when we have a solution that you guys can host. Because we appreciate how important it is for the banks to host and control all of their data in country. I never get access to your data. I give you the APIs, you host all the data on your hardware behind your firewalls. You can brand the solution, it's entirely yours.
Is it much more expensive than what they have now?
No, and actually...
Because we talked about the mobile operators and...
Sure, typically what we're seeing around the world is that USSD sessions, these are live sessions, are going to be comparable, if not cheaper in cost, than SMS. And typically, when you think about SMS now, you may send an SMS message to a customer, you hope it gets there. The customer has to respond, that's another SMS. Maybe you write back to confirm, yet another SMS. And it's a clunky system. The USSD session is a live session, happens instantaneously, typically in seconds, certainly in under 30 seconds. So you're only paying the mobile network operator for a live session, one live session. And what we do is we have the banks deal directly with the mobile network operators. So we're not charging any markup. There's no additional connectivity fee here. We do a software license with the bank. The bank deals directly with the operators on the connectivity, very cost efficient, and the elimination of fraud makes it extremely financially beneficial.
I mean, the customers you won over, I mean, what were the obstacles initially?
The initial obstacles, frankly, they were wedded to some kind of a biometric solution.
Like most here.
And
Some solution.
And the thing, at the end of the day, the biometric solutions all reside on the internet. They all reside on the operating system. Even if you're using your face to get access to your phone, malware could be on your handset, and somebody could be committing fraud and you don't even realize it. If you're using a facial image, for example, to get access to your phone, once you're in your phone, you should have a separate, secure means of authentication that meets the PSD2 secure customer authentication requirement.
And if you think how many people watch movies with your handset, so there's actually even an app out there that tells you if your phone has malware on it. I just read something in Wired magazine. But yeah, I see. I mean, if I hear this thing, I mean, I believe that people should, I mean, if you see that something is bad out there, you should change it regardless what you've done before. Because, I mean, we're in a business that changes so quickly. And only the best is good enough. And one good point is, I mean, of course, people have to compare it, but if fraud is committed, there's money lost, and of course, a reputation. So anything that diminishes this, the better. I mean, if I would wire someone money, I'm not associated with the company here, but I think it's a great concept. I would like to be as safe as possible.
Sure, and think about how crazy it is that right now, if you just want to get a few dollars out of an ATM machine, you need a physical bank card and a memorized PIN, which is good security and makes sense. But a fraudster can get into your online bank account without any of those elements and commit fraud for an unlimited amount of money. Doesn't make any sense. So your digital online banking is typically much less secure than an ATM window.
Any questions? So, but at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem is this obstacle that people already have a solution, even if it might be inferior.
And I think over time...
And maybe that solution is also connected to a lot of things. It's just not just only login.
Sure. I think the most important thing to understand is the tremendous benefit of eliminating fraud to your consumer base. And think about that, for online banking, digital payments, e-commerce, because you could use this across all of those use cases that the bank is typically involved with. So when you think about the phenomenal benefit of eliminating fraud, and then how easy it is to implement through APIs, and the fact that you don't have to change your current app, this is a new lock separate on top of that app. It's really easy. A tremendous benefit for a very simple implementation.
But it builds another layer, but that layer even the other people have. I mean, in order to get into your bank account, you will expect to get the SMS, etc. So it's the same steps.
So from a user-friendliness point of view, we're not asking you to do much. You're responding to a flash message on your phone. So from a user point of view, it's as easy as, if not a lot easier than what they've already been doing.
And
it's just infinitely more secure.
And that flash message, can that be designed by us?
No, it's going to basically be a file format typical to that phone manufacturer.
I see.
So it's going to be a simple, plain text, but the beauty of it is you don't leave the app. The message overlays on it, and it's really simple to read. It's typically just going to be 1 or 2 sentences. You're going to respond with your secret, your memorized PIN or password or other thing, and then you're good to go.
Have you had success in America with this?
We haven't introduced it yet. We're actually speaking to the mobile operators now. I just met with them in October at the Mobile World Congress in Los Angeles. So at some point, as the operators understand the benefits of this and the banks realize the benefits of it, then you have your perfect storm.
I mean, yeah, actually, it's crazy if we don't try it. I mean, at least that's how it feels for me. What about fintech startups?
Well,
The bigger ones.
we look at ourselves as a late stage fintech.
No, I know, but
ourselves.
you could also work with challenger banks.
And we're happy to do that. Yeah, we're happy to
Where's
work.
Yannis? Not here today.
Yeah,
but
we're
later.
we're happy to explore, digital banks.
But because challenger banks, they're even more vulnerable. They don't want any fraud to happen because it's a much bigger problem for fintech companies if fraud happens than for big banks who, all right, it's expensive, but it's not the same damage. Question? Thanks.
The way it sounds is that all the CEOs, all the CFOs of any bank should be lying on your doorstep to get it. I mean, huge benefits from the avoidance of fraud, seamless user experience, very easy integration. I mean, there needs to be something that hasn't helped you guys,
No,
don't
break
have
through.
this fantastic commercial success.
You know, it's interesting.
And I don't believe it's just inertia, right?
Well,
Trying to be provocative.
sure, and I appreciate that question. We attended the European Digital Banking Summit in the UK back in May, and your big debate question was basically, is it virtually impossible to get banks to do anything? I mean, I'm paraphrasing the question a bit, but that's basically what the question was. And I could tell you, as somebody that thinks they have an ideal solution and is sitting up here, it is extremely difficult to get banks to do anything.
No, I disagree. Banks are moving. I mean, they might not be moving with the pace that we would like them to move, but they are moving. They're introducing new things that we didn't have before. Things like PFM. I mean, which it might be simple, but we never had it like 5 years ago. Digital onboarding, things like that, that also have a significant element of fraud into that. I mean, providing access to your web banking, checking accounts, all that stuff, to a guy that hasn't ever visited the branch. Mm-hmm. These things were, rocket science not too long ago, and now they're a reality. So it's not that banks are totally, at a standstill. We are moving, maybe at a slower pace compared to the Tesco's and Amazons of the world, but we are moving.
Basically, you should, when you go to a UBS or any bank, you should look what they use and then hack it. Because then they realize there's a problem, As simple as that. No, seriously, because if you show it, look, I did this, we can do this, and they say, okay.
No, we were interested in partnering with banks and working with them. And, our experience, sure, we've had banks in some markets that have actually been relatively quick to adopt. But the reality is, most of you I've met in the last 6 to 12 months, and many of you have expressed an interest in moving the dialogue further to the pilot stage. And I think that that's reasonable. Of course, I'm a native New Yorker that wants everything yesterday. What else is new, right? So maybe to my experience, I would wish that I would see the banks move even faster. But I think that I appreciate that there's a natural pace of time that it takes to get people to make fundamental changes.
I don't have much time left, I'm afraid. But Yannis, you work for a very top challenger bank, I'm sorry I rushed you into this. Microphone to Yannis, I was just saying before you were here that fraud might be a bigger issue for challenger banks than for incumbents because reputation, etc. Knowing the solution, is the solution you guys use better?
That's a very fair point, actually. Fraudsters think that because we are
Thank you, by the
new,
way.
we're very vulnerable. And actually, we attract lots of them, but we close them all. I think when it comes to fraud prevention, what we do is other than consulting with more experienced companies around that area, is we try to create in-house experience around that and cultivate that culture. Is people can go to jail. It's that important.
But so I'd be happy to work with you and any bank in this room or any bank anywhere and sit down with the bank and the mobile network operators in your market and demonstrate why this is your best solution.
If you could gain one of those clients, I think banks will even look even more so, because the challenger banks, they can just use the best thing out there because they don't have this legacy.
Sure.
So that's one of the best advertisement if you can, win one of them over. But not that easy, because they think they can do everything themselves, and sometimes they do. But all right. So, any more questions? Oh, please.
Just that, not sure I understood correctly. Is the mobile operation, there should be an integration with the mobile operators?
The mobile network operators provide the connectivity. So yes, so typically the banks want to know what the connectivity is going to charge in the market, what the fees will be in the market. And that's why we work with the mobile network operators and the banks, so they understand how the overall solution's implemented and what the cost would be.
So it's something that hasn't been done yet. So maybe that's the fact.
It's been done in other markets.
No, I mean, in every market it hasn't been done. So.
Right, correct. It's a new service. So now we have the European network operators, mobile network operators here, looking to work with us and saying, bring the banks to the table so we can discuss how to implement this solution. That's the stage I'm at now in Europe, after having successfully done this in other markets, including India and Africa.
Does it have anything to do with the actual device?
This is compatible with any mobile phone, because every mobile phone has access to the secure signaling channel. So you do not need to download an app. Your phone is already ready to go. It's very simple to implement.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys and ladies and gentlemen, for being here and asking questions. And yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.